Representative O'Neill, thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
Tell me a little bit about your district. What issues do you think people in your district are concerned about?
Well, I'm from Buffalo, Monticello, Maple Lake, and the surrounding townships. So it's kind of a bedroom community. If you go there during the daytime, there are very few people there, except for those that maybe work in Buffalo. There's government center and things like that there, but a lot of the people are tradespeople. So when the construction industry failed miserably and the housing market crashed, it really affected our community in a tremendous, impactful way. At that time, I was actually serving on the board of the food shelf, and so I got to see it up close and personal. And we are just starting to come up out of that. Thankfully, the trades are doing a little bit better, and so our community is doing better, but there was a time that it was very, very difficult in our community, and my husband and I actually own a construction company. We're subcontractors, so we felt the pinch as much as everybody else around us, and went through the whole thing of, husband being laid off and the struggle that most people go through, but it's been a really difficult time for our community. We're just close enough to the Twin Cities where a lot of people are employed in the Twin Cities, so it's kind of a bedroom community. If they're not in the trades, they're working somewhere downtown Minneapolis or St. Paul. So it's a quiet, middle-class community. Some of it's very rural. There's some parts of my district that have a lot of farmers, and they've also been impacted. We had some drought. We had some issues. It's been hard for them too. So it's a great community. People pull together, and I could tell you when I was at the food shelf, it was amazing to see the community pull together and really help neighbor to neighbor. We had hundreds of volunteers. We had food coming in and dollars coming in. At the time, it was absolutely critical. So my community is full of people with big hearts, and they just want to help each other out any way they can.
Why did you run for state representative?
Well, Representative Bruce Anderson is a personal friend, and we've been friends for quite some time. That friendship goes back to about 2006. We attend the same church. So we were out to dinner one night, and he looked across the table and he said, "Marion, have you ever thought about running for the House of Representatives?" And I said, "No, Bruce, I really have never thought about it." But it kind of sparked an interest. And he said, "Well, you know what? Just come down and visit me. Just come to the Capitol. Just shadow me for a day and just see what it's like." So I agreed, and I came down, and it was so intriguing. And I don't know why it was so interesting to me, because I certainly hadn't done anything in politics before that, and I worked in nonprofits and did other things that were completely very, very different from what happens here at the Capitol. But I came down, and it really sparked an interest, and then he began to invite my husband and myself to events, different political events, and different meetings and things, and it just started a passion inside of me, and I got to see how my desire to really help people and to reach out and make a difference could be coupled with doing good policy work here. So it was something that has grown, and eventually I was on the board of the Republican Party out in Wright County, and just started as a leader on the board and ended up as the vice chair, the deputy chair of the party. So, the more you do things, the more you find out if you like it or if you don't like it. And I really just fell in love with the whole thing. And I even worked on the Emmer for Governor campaign. And, it's something that's just continued to grow. And then when Bruce decided that he was going to run for Senate, then he came back to me and he said, "All right, I'm running for the Senate. Will you run for my House seat?" So it was an invitation I couldn't pass up.
What types of specific issues, for or against, are you looking forward to taking action on?
From the outside, Mint Pass looks like a great idea. It's in my mind, I thought, oh, this must be generating some revenue for the state of Minnesota. You're basically allowing someone to drive in a single occupant in a car in a high occupancy lane. So I thought, well, the reason for that must be that we're generating some revenue or doing something that would make it easier with traffic. Well, in sitting in those transportation committees, I found out that it's actually a loss, that it's actually a subsidized privilege. So tax dollars are going to subsidize a single occupancy person to travel in a high occupancy lane. That disturbs me. And MnDOT actually designed that program to be an operating loss. So not only do they not recapture the funds it costs to install the entire system, to maintain the system, but it'll never be a revenue generating operation designed to be that way. So I have a concern about that, and I'd like to address the MnPass issue. And MnPass is something that they want to expand, and to me that's just more tax dollars going to some place that seems kind of silly. The other thing I'd really like to look at in transportation is the 55 corridor is something that for decades has been an issue in my district. It's a single lane, it's towards zero death. It's a very, very deadly corridor. Have had mothers of friends of mine have been killed on it, and I have a good friend that I've known for years and years, and he said he can't tell you how many people have been that he knew personally have been killed in that corridor. So I'd really like to see that expanded. Like I said, we do have a great expansion out in Buffalo, Monticello, Maple Lake, even on into Annandale. The population has grown tremendously, and if that corridor was opened, it would certainly make it a lot easier for a lot of people to get to where they need to get to much more safely. So they've gotten as far as about the Medina area, and then it goes back down to the single lane each way. So that corridor, I'd like to see if possibly there's something can be done to expand that corridor all the way up to Annandale. So those are two issues pretty specific to my district and the region that I'd like to take a look at in the transportation area. I'm looking forward to hopefully championing those different concepts, those different areas.
When the end of the session arrives and you return back home, how would you like people in your district to determine if you were a successful legislator?
Since we're in the minority, that's a little bit of a difficult task because we don't have the power that we did 2 years ago when we were here. But what I'd really like to do is make sure that whatever issues that they have, whatever constituent problems that they have, that my office and myself handle all those with the utmost care and try to resolve it the absolute best that it can be resolved. It's something that I do on a daily basis now and have done for the last 2 years, and it's so incredibly important. If somebody has a problem, an issue, I certainly want to be there for them and be able to walk them through that, if it's with a state agency or even the local county or even with the city, if I can try to negotiate some of those resolutions. I'd love to be able to do that. I think that's the best thing I can possibly do for my district is work on some of those issues for them and just be available as much as I can.
If you could sit down with anybody living or deceased and have dinner with them, who would you choose and why?
I would pick Condoleezza Rice, and I had the good fortune of actually seeing her. I didn't get a chance to meet her, but I was at a conference, an Excellence in Education conference in Washington, D.C. 2 weeks ago. And I had the opportunity to hear her speak firsthand and talk about her background and where she's come from and kind of historically her family. And she's incredibly inspiring in so many ways. I'd love to sit down and hear more about her and her ideas. She's an incredibly intelligent woman who I highly respect. And I definitely would sit down with Condoleezza Rice.